Hello, my name is Glenda Sparling. I'm president of an international company specializing in pattern fitting and designing. I'm very excited to be sharing with you today the newest ideas and technologies that are changing the sewing pattern industry. There is a whole new world of ideas and possibilities just waiting for you, and I know that you will be delighted when you have had the opportunity to experience it for yourself. In this video, join me on a journey to this exciting new world with the SureFit Designs pattern system and end your sewing nightmares forever. Just imagine the unlimited possibilities when you have had a custom-fitted pattern for any body size, no matter the width, the length, or height, in virtually any design you choose in a short time every time. Whether you are a beginner or an advanced seamstress, you'll sew with new confidence because you'll no longer need to hope that it fits. And imagine the time saved because you'll have no more troublesome pattern alterations before sewing. I'll reveal to you the secrets of the pattern industry and remove the mystique of pattern fitting and designing once and for all. Together, we will design dresses, skirts, jackets, pants, jeans, and shirts that really fit, and even sew for your children and men quickly and easily. In this video, we will first focus on providing a new experience for the sewing enthusiast who has not yet had the opportunity to enjoy the exciting world of the SureFit Design system. And second, to serve as a companion and guide for home sewers who have already made the journey to better fitting patterns with their SureFit Design sewing kits. Come with me now as we use the designing stylus to open the door to a whole new world of successful sewing.
The ingenious designing stylus is the key that unlocks the unlimited possibilities for you with the SureFit Design sewing kits. The dress kit is complete with all the necessary master patterns, templates, and 44-page instruction book, so you will be able to fit and design ladies' blouses, dresses, skirts, jackets, and coats. The pants kit is complete with master patterns and instruction book, and gives you the capability to design and sew dressy slacks to casual pants, sports attire, including shorts and jeans, or any style of pant you may desire. The shirt kit is also complete with master patterns and instruction book, and you will love designing and sewing for both women or men. Sew attractive dartless blouses, dresses, and casual jackets for women, as well as dress shirts, sports shirts, and casual jackets for your men. The children's kit rounds out the versatile SureFit Design sewing kits with all necessary master patterns and instruction book included. This kit literally sews for toddlers to teens, boys or girls, with a wide range of designs. Hoods, robes, skirts, jackets, pants, and many more design possibilities await you. The men's pants designs instruction book complements and adds another dimension to the women's pants kit. It shows you how to adapt the women's pants pattern for sewing men's pants. There is built-in economy and versatility, not to mention happy men with well-fitting pants. To make the most of your sewing kits, we also have available an assortment of most requested designs. First, there is the 4-page fashion design sheet with 5 fashionable dress designs for today's women. Then there are 8 single-page fashion leaflets with designs ranging from dolman and raglan sleeves to the latest in pants, the stirrup pants.
Let's begin our journey. I'd like to show you how to eliminate your pattern frustrations by showing you how to utilize the SureFit Designs dress pattern. You'll notice on the patterns that there are a series of dots going up and out in various locations. These dots are called the grading dots, and they are the dots that will physically change the size of the pattern to fit your unique body shape and size. Now, beside every dot there is a number, and that number represents a part of your body. In this case, because we're working in the bodice front, these dots actually represent your bust measurement. The smallest number is 28 inches or 71.1 centimeters, and they go all the way on up to 62 inches or 157.5 centimeters. So I know I'm going to be able to fit every single one of you. Now, before we can actually start marking in your dots, I need to show you how to take a set of accurate measurements. I'd like to introduce to you Enid. She's going to be our measurement model while I show you how to take your dress measurements. First of all, when you're at home, please make sure that you do your measurements over top of your appropriate foundation garments. your bra, slip, pantyhose, etc., it's going to be that much more accurate for you. All right, the very first measurement we'll do is a bust measurement. Enid, if you would turn with your back to the camera, please, and put your arms straight out like this. What I'm going to do is take this tape measure and put it over the back shoulder blades. Normally we do a bust measurement with it parallel to our bust, but this time we're going to take the tape measure up a little higher on the back shoulder blades and then go over the fullest part of the bust. Now lower your arms down, please. When she lowered her arms down, I picked up just a little bit of expansion in the front of the tape measure. That's because I'm incorporating the breadth of her back as well as the fullness of her front bust circumference. Now you can turn back around, please. Thank you. Now, if you've ever been a lady who's ripped your seams out of your set-in sleeve garments, you likely know the problem that you've had. You've not had enough circumference going around in that particular measurement, so that's why we do it that way. We're going to do it just one more time so you can see what happens in the front of the body. Now, put your arms out, and I'll just have you face the camera now, and we'll take the tape measure up over those back shoulder blades, then go over the fullest part of the bust. Now lower your arms down. When her arms came down, the tape measure actually expanded a little bit. That's the expansion of the back that I'm picking up. And it is that larger measurement that you will want to record. Now, if you are very narrow in your back and you don't have that expansion occurring, don't worry about it. You've done the technique. If you get the expansion, use it. If you don't, that's fine. Measurement number 2 is a waist measurement. Now, when you're at home, I'd like you to tie a string or a narrow piece of elastic around your waist, and we'll just tie it comfortably. Then you'll want to bend from side to side 2 or 3 times, and that will just help to settle that elastic right in your natural waist position. Does that feel pretty comfortable there? Good. And then we'll do the second measurement. Number 2 is the waist measurement. All right, so that's what it would look like. Measurement number 3 is a high hip measurement. For this one, we'll measure down approximately 3 inches, which is about 7 to 8 centimeters down from your waistline into your high hip and tummy area. You want to make sure that this measurement is in fact parallel to the floor. Measurement number 4 is a full hip measurement. For this one, we'll measure down approximately 8 to 10 inches down from your waist elastic. That's about 20 to 25 centimeters down. And you'll measure yourself in your fullest hip area. And you might just want to measure yourself 2 or 3 times. Slide that tape measure up or down so that you do get the fullest hip circumference. Once again, please make sure that the tape measure is parallel to the floor. Measurement number 5 is shoulder to apex. Now, what we're going to do here is simply measure from the natural shoulder line down to the apex, or the highest point of the bust. And the way that you find the natural shoulder line is to find an imaginary line from just behind the base of the ear out to the shoulder bone. And you can see I'm laying the tape measure on top. That would be her natural shoulder line. Take the tape measure and place it in the middle of your shoulder, and then measure down to the apex, or the highest point of your bust. Measurement number 6 is shoulder to waist. That's done over the apex from the middle of the shoulder line all the way down to the waist elastic. Measurement number 7 is waist to hem. That will be the length of your day dresses or skirts. Measurement number 8 is apex to apex. For this one, we'll measure from bust point to bust point to determine the width or the spread of the apex. And you'll take that measurement and then divide it in half. It is the half width measurement that you are going to be using. The second part of measurement number 8 is that you need to write down whatever your bra cup size is. And measurement number 9 is shoulder length. For this now, we'll measure the length of the shoulder from the neck point to the shoulder point. You want to do that so that when you're wearing a garment with a set-in sleeve, it will actually set on your shoulder where it's supposed to. At home, what I'd like you to do is take your tape measure and simply lay it around the base of your neck. Where that tape measure physically stops, that is indicating your neck point. And then, from there, you will measure out to your shoulder bone. The way you find your shoulder bone is to put your arm straight out, and at the top of your shoulder, you'll feel a little dent or hollow. Keeping your finger on that dent or hollow, you simply lower your arm up and down like this. Sometimes the movement really helps you to identify that shoulder bone. And then all you do is measure from your neck point to your shoulder bone. Measurement number 10 is shoulder to elbow. Just turn slightly so your arm is facing the audience there, and just bend your arm comfortably. And you'll start the tape measure now at the top of the shoulder, and you'll go right down to your elbow. That's measurement number 10. And measurement number 11 is shoulder over the elbow and all the way down to the hand side of the base of the wrist bone. You all have a prominent bone at the base of your wrist, and you want to go right down to the hand side. Thank you very much, Enid. Now, I would like you to stop your videos, and all of you do your personalized measurements. Just before I start utilizing your measurements, I'd like to talk about ease. There are two basic kinds of ease in our clothing. One is called wearing ease, and the other is called design ease. Wearing ease is just that minimal amount that's required for comfort and fitting. Call it wiggle room if you like. The other is called design ease. That's added above and beyond wearing ease, and it physically changes the silhouette of the garment. Remember back in the 60s when they designed those tent dresses, they had lots of fullness in them. Well, that changed the outside silhouette, and that's called design ease. Wearing ease is what I'd like to focus on right now. There is an ease factor formula. It's 2.5, 1, and 3. In the bust area, you want 2.5 inches of ease, or 6.4 centimeters. In the waist, you want 1 inch, or 2.5 centimeters, and in the hip, 3 inches, or 7.6 centimeters. Now, that's an industry standard. You can have less ease, or you can have more. It's up to you and whatever you would like to have in your finished garment. Now, when you're working with the SureFit patterns, these patterns do incorporate ease for you. So once you have your pattern all drawn off, and if you were to measure from stitching line to stitching line, you would end up with your actual measurement plus the ease allowance. Now, this is called a master pattern. That means I don't want you to write on it, draw on it, cut it apart, because you will be able to reuse this many times over. So what we're going to do is put up a piece of tracing vellum. This is a lightweight, yet very see-through and extremely durable tracing medium. And this will allow us to draw our pattern onto the tracing vellum. This is a product that we've looked around for a lot for home sewers, and we're very pleased to be able to bring to you our sewing product called Tracing Vellum. There is 10 yards in the roll, which is about 9.5 meters, and it's 24 inches wide, which is 61 centimeters wide, so you'll get lots and lots of patterns out of one roll. Now, we're going to start here on the bodice front. The most logical measurement to use is your bust measurement. Enid's bust measurement was 42 inches, or 106.7 centimeters. So I will start at center front. At the smallest dot, I'm going to work my way up until I come to her actual bust measurement number. Of course, you would mark in whatever your bust measurement number is. So that's the dot at center front. In the neck point, I will put in the same dot. That's 42 inches, or 106.7 centimeters. The same at the shoulder line. We'll go into the middle of the armhole and mark in that dot. And at the underarm, there's her dot right there. And at the top leg of the bust grading series of dots. So now I have a series of dots running all the way around the outer edge. Now all you've got to do is connect them together. But if your freehand drawing of curves is anything like mine is, you're going to need a little bit of a help to do it. So what we have for you is the SureFit Designing Stylus. It has on it all the curves of your body, and it's my job to show you how to find your body on this stylus and how to put it on the pattern. We also have a series of slots inside the outer edge, and those are the seam allowance slots, and I'll be showing you how to use those as we progress. All right, the very first thing that I'd like you to do is turn your stylus over so that you are looking at the white side, and you're going to be holding it with the two big curves going downward. You'll notice in the bottom lower curvature, I have written in the words neck curve. I want you to do that on your stylus as well. The next thing is to draw your neck curve. So just remember this rule. When you're drawing any curve, you find the curve on the stylus that's exactly the same curve as that of the master pattern. You can see that if I held the stylus that way, I'm not repeating off the correct neckline shape. So you find the curve of the master pattern, you slip the stylus up until it exposes your two dots, and then literally all you do is just draw around. When I take that away, I have created the neckline that is unique to her body. Now we'll continue on and use the straight edge on the stylus and draw straight down center front. And I will also put in the straight grain marking. That's just copying off the 2 straight lines that were on the bodice front. Then we need to measure the shoulder line. If you recall, that was the distance on Enid's body that we measured, and I want to make sure that that is actually going to fit on the top of her shoulder properly. So I'll measure in between the dots, and that is not quite wide enough for Enid. She was broad-shouldered, so I'm going to move the dot out on the same linear plane, and I'm going to X out the dot that I do not require. If you were shorter shouldered than what the dots provided, you would simply move your dot inside and X out the dot that you do not need. Then you'll take your designing stylus and connect from your neck point to your personalized blueprinted shoulder point. Now we'll go into the armhole. In the middle of the armhole, there's a series of dots labeled front arm side, point number 1, and a lower series of dots labeled full bust measurement, front arm side, point number 2. Arm side is simply a fancy term in the industry that means armhole, so don't let that confuse you. Now what you need to do is hold your styluses with the words facing you and the 2 curves going downward, and you'll come down this long curvy edge all the way down to the bottom arrowhead, and that says match to front arm side, point number 2. Well, arm side point number 2 is that lower series of dots, so take arrowhead 2, put it on dot number 2, and simply pivot the stylus into your personalized shoulder point. And then literally all you do is just draw around. When I take that away, I've created the armhole that is unique to her body. Now, for any of you who have a fuller bust circumference that is 48 inches or bigger, you are going to be utilizing this arm side template. You'll hold it with the words facing you, and on the left-hand edge, as we come down, there is one arrow, and it says match to front arm side, point number 1. So you'll take arrowhead number 1, and you put that into dot number 1. Pivot into your personalized shoulder point, connect those dots, and then at dot number 1, you would simply pivot the template up until it does expose dot number 2 and continue drawing around to your dot. So that is used for the fuller bust circumferences of 48 inches and beyond, which is 121.9 centimeters. The next thing to do is mark in your shoulder to apex and shoulder to waist measurements. If you recall, those were distances on her body that I did measure, so that's the next thing that I want to mark in. Because I measured in the middle of the shoulder on her body, I will bring the tape measure down from the middle of the shoulder on the pattern, and I'll mark in her bust level, and I will also mark in her waist level. So that was shoulder to apex and shoulder to waist. Next, I measured from apex to apex, and I've divided it in half because I am working on half a pattern. So whatever your half width is, you start the zero edge of your tape measure at center front, and you come out at the level of your apex, and you make a crisscross. And I think that you would all agree with me that that's Enid's apex right there. Yours might be up here, over there, down here, in here, out here. You could be anywhere around in there, couldn't you? Because you've done a length and a width, and when you crisscross, that becomes your apex marking on the tracing vellum. Now, we did that so that we can put in a bra cup that fits you properly. You may or may not be aware of this, but about 95% of the commercial patterns available to you in the marketplace today have a B-cup dart in them. So if you're anything other than a B-cup, you've got problems, don't you? The A-cup people have all that excessive fabric in the front that they don't need, and the C's, the D's, and the double D's, well, you all know their problem. That's the straining and pulling across the front, and you don't want either situation occurring. So what we will do to rectify that is utilize this template called the Adjust-A-Bust template. There are 6 different bra cup sizes on it: A, B, C, D, double D, and E. So you choose the dart size that is your bust measurement. And Enid was a D-cup bra size, so there is the D-cup series of holes. I will be marking through those. First of all, let me explain. The blue line at the top is the top stitching leg of the dart. The blue line in the middle is the fold line of the dart, and the blue line at the bottom is the bottom stitching leg of the dart. So you take whatever your bra cup size is, in this case the bra cup size D, and you place that over top of your bust grading series of dots. And then you take the template and you make sure that the fold line is aimed towards your apex. So you pivot like this until that fold line does aim exactly at your apex. And then all you do is simply mark in the side edges of your dart through the dots that are provided. Now, you never ever want your dart to stitch right up to the tip of your apex. That would not look flattering in your finished garment. So at the end of the template, there are just a little series of holes right here, and you need to mark back anywhere from about 1 inch to 1.5 inches, which is about 2 to 3 centimeters back, and that will be your dart tip. And then all you do is connect the top leg, the fold line, and the bottom leg of the dart, and then connect the side edges like this, and that completes a dart for you. It's done two very important things. It's given you a dart in the correct width for your body, and it has pointed it in the direction of your apex. Now, if you happen to have a bust level on your chest that is fairly low down, when you're working with this template, and as you pivot the fold line towards your apex, if this kind of situation occurred where the template was really aiming down at that kind of an angle, that wouldn't look very flattering in your finished garment. So just remember to do this. Take your template, and on the same linear line, just slide the dart template down until it is actually horizontal to wherever your apex is. And then that will give you a dart that is horizontal to your bust line, and it will look much more flattering in that area. The next thing to do is the waist level. Now, on the master pattern, there is a waist guideline going across the bottom of the bodice. And then there is a series of dots that begin, and they are labeled as waist measurement. Up to this point, we have utilized your bust measurement, but now, most logically, we will use your waist measurement. Your waist can be as small as 20 inches around, or 50.8 centimeters, and it will go all the way on up to 54 inches, or 137.2 centimeters. But before we can actually mark off your waist measurement dot, you'll notice that Enid is very long-waisted. You may have been short-waisted. Whether you're long or short, the next step is virtually the same. You release the tracing vellum, and for long-waisted people, you're going to shift your tracing vellum up until your line lines up with the waist guideline of the master pattern. Had you been short-waisted, you would simply shift the tracing vellum downward, lining up your waist guideline with the waist guideline on the master pattern. So there we have the tracing vellum in position. Now you can mark off your waist measurement, whatever the case may be. And that was Enid's waist measurement dot. Then you utilize your stylus and connect the bottom of your dart to your waist dot. Now you can see what's happening here. You are really blueprinting in that midriff area. If you're a full-busted lady with a very narrow waist, as you connect to your narrower dot, you're getting it much smaller in here. You're getting rid of the excess of fabric that you always have to contend with. And if you're very thick in your waist, you would come down to a wider waist dot, giving you the additional fabric that you need going around in your waistline area. So we truly do blueprint here for you. Next, we need to put in this dart underneath your apex, and to make that a simple process, we utilize this template called the waist darts template. On the template, there is a blue line going across the bottom, and that is labeled as waist guideline. That will always line up with the waist guideline on the master pattern. Every dart is labeled according to its usage, and dart number 1 is labeled as bodice front dart. As we look at that and go up to the tip of the dart, there is an arrowhead, and it says align arrow with apex position. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. Take the arrow, put it on that apex position, and then simply draw in the tip of the dart. Now, looking down to the waist edge, you'll notice that the waist guideline on the template is about 1 inch above the waist guideline on the master pattern. I need to line those up, so I'm going to just shift the template down until the waist guideline on the template does line up with the waist guideline on the master pattern. Then you draw through the template. Now we have a tip and a tail end to the dart, and all that you're going to do is connect the top of the dart to the bottom of the dart, and that finishes it off. Let me do that one more time. Let's say that your bust was lower down. You would take your arrowhead and put it on your apex. You'd draw in the tip of your dart. Now the blue waist guideline is substantially lower than the waist guideline on the pattern, so you'd shift your template up, draw in the tail of the dart. Then you would connect together the tip to the tail end, and you can see how much shorter your dart would be in that area. So whether you are high or low busted, you always get the correct positioning and length of the dart underneath your apex. The next thing to do is to put in a slightly curved line, and you just simply use your designing stylus to do that. It would look like this. Now, to finish off the bodice front, this is called a stripped-down pattern. It means it doesn't have any seam allowances on it. So in order to cut it out and sew it together without losing any of the ease, we are going to draw through the slots that are provided on the designing stylus. Now at this point, I would like you to stop your tapes and draw off your personalized bodice front. Let's start drawing off your skirt front. The very first thing that you'll want to do is put in the center front marking. So you're just using the straight edge on the designing stylus. You're drawing all the way down, and the next thing will be to put in your straight grain marking. Up at the top of the skirt, you'll notice that there is a hip fitting dart here. And then there's a series of dots, and they are labeled as half apex to apex measurement. You're likely wondering why. Well, this dart will need to line up directly underneath this dart. And because we used her half apex width measurement here, we need to use her half apex width measurement right here. And that will make sure that that dart will line up properly, and I'll be showing you that as we go on. Now to make this dart, we utilize this template, the waist dart template, one more time. It says dart number 2, skirt front dart. Take the tip of the dart and aim it going downward in the direction of your dart on your skirt. Line up the blue waist guideline with the black waist guideline on the master pattern, and then all you do is just simply draw through that template. That positions that hip-fitting dart on the front of your skirt. Then, the top series of dots at the top of the skirt is labeled as waist measurement, and so you'll mark off whatever your waist measurement is. The next series is labeled as high hip measurement, so you mark off your appropriate high hip dot. Coming down even lower, we have a third series, and that's labeled as full hip measurement. So we need to mark off whatever your full hip measurement is. And now we just start connecting all of these dots together. You connect from center front to the edge of the dart, and then from the other edge of the dart to the side waist point, and now your hip curve. When you're doing your hip curve, you hold your stylus with the words facing you and the two curves going upward. As we come up this curvy edge, about 3/4 of the way up, you'll notice that it says hip curve. You can actually use any section along on here, whichever best repeats the shape of your hip curvature. And if you happen to be a heart, a diamond, or a straight-shaped figure, your instruction book will guide you in choosing the correct hip curvature as you're drawing off your pattern. What you want to do basically is just take your stylus and shift it up or down until you get the best connection for the hip curvature of your body, and then just connect all 3 dots together. The next thing to do is put in your hem level. So you measure from the waist guideline down to whatever you want your hem level to be, your day-length garments, and that would be Enid's hem length right there. And so now you want to shift that tracing vellum up until it rides on the hem level marking of the master pattern. And you just need to keep straight of grain and center front straight as we line that up. And at the outer edge of the hem, you'll see that it says full hip measurement, and that's just a guideline dot, so you'll mark that in. And I'm going to freehand this for convenience sake, but when you're at home, please use your designing stylus to draw in that 2-inch curved hem. That's 5.1 centimeters wide, and you can see the curve that you would use right there. And then the next step is to connect your hip to your hem line. That's basically the skirt front, with the exception, of course, that you do need to add those seam allowances. So I'd like you to stop your tape now, please, and draw off your skirt front. I'll show you how to make your bodice back now. First of all, because we're working in the bodice again, you will be utilizing your full bust measurement, in this case 42 inches or 106.7 centimeters. You'll start at center back and again work your way up to whatever your bust measurement is, in this case 42 inches, 106.7 centimeters. Mark that in at the center back, at your neck point, at your shoulder point, in the middle of the armhole, and at the underarm. So now we again start connecting those dots together. Take your designing stylus, and the first line we'll draw this time is the center back. Take that all the way down, and then put in your straight grain marking. Now to do the back neck curve, you'll hold the stylus, this time again with no words facing you and the two curves going downward, and you're going to use this neck curve area again, but tilted on edge, it's a slightly shallow curvature. So you find the curve on the master pattern and slip the stylus up and simply connect your dots together. And now we need to make the shoulder line be exactly the same length as the shoulder line on the front of the bodice. So if you did change the length of your shoulder line, make sure you do the same amount on the back of the bodice so that those shoulder seam lines do sew together in a one-to-one relationship. And of course you X out the dot that you do not need. Then you connect your neck point to your personalized shoulder point. Then we'll go into the armhole. Again, there is a series of dots labeled back arm side point 1 and a lower series labeled full bust measurement back arm side point number 2. Take your designing stylus and hold it with the words facing you, and we'll come down this long curvy edge to the first arrowhead, and that says match to back arm side point number 1 dress. So you take that arrowhead and put it into dot number 1 and pivot the stylus into your personalized shoulder point and connect down. Now dot number 2, I've covered it up a little bit. So at arrowhead and dot number 1, you use that as a pivotal point and simply pivot the stylus up until it does expose all of your dot number 2, and then just draw around. When I take that away, it will give her one of the best fitting back armholes she's ever worn. Once again, for the ladies who have a fuller bust circumference, that is 48 inches or 121.9 centimeters and above, you will utilize this arm side template, but this time you're going to hold it with the words upside down. And as we read down the left edge, there is an arrowhead, and that says match to back arm side point number 1. Take arrowhead 1, put it into dot 1, pivot into your personalized shoulder point, connect your dots, and then pivot up to expose your dot number 2 and continue drawing around. Again, that's for the bust measurements 48 inches or 121.9 centimeters and beyond. Now this particular template is found within the Sure-Fit Designs dress kit. The next thing we need to do is make sure that the side seam on the back of the bodice will be exactly the same length as the side seam on the front of the bodice. Now remembering, on the front of the bodice we have this bust fitting dart, so what you need to do is measure what you have left up here and this much right here. And you can do that with a tape measure if you wish, or you can do this technique. Simply take a piece of paper and make a marking indicating the underarm point. Then make another marking indicating the top leg of your dart, and then simply shift this dot down to the lower leg of your dart as if you were sewing that dart out. And then make a mark that indicates your waist level. And I think that you would all agree with me, that's her waist length minus her dart. Now we'll take this and line up the underarm marking to the underarm dot, and take the edge of your paper and tilt it through your waist measurement number, and then simply extend your waistline on out. So that's her waist level on the back of her bodice. And just as we did on the front, you want to shift the tracing vellum up. That's for long-waisted people. If you were short-waisted, you'd shift the tracing vellum down. So I'm shifting up until her waist level lines up with the waist guideline on the master pattern, and of course maintain straight grain marking and center back on their two straight lines, and then just reposition your tape. Now we can mark off your waist measurement number, whatever the case may be for your body, and then connect together the underarm point and the waist dot, which blueprints once again in the midriff area, and it also is going to give you the appropriate center back waist length. When you connect from this dot over to here, this length will end up being appropriate for your body. So we no longer have the problem of long and short back waistedness. Now we have a dart to put in, and that's the dart that's underneath the shoulder blades. And for convenience only, we are using your full bust measurement as a referencing number. So I'll mark in her full bust measurement dot, and I will use this dart template one more time, and that says bodice back dart. So you take the tip of the template, put it up over top of the dot that you just made, line up your blue waist guideline with the black waist guideline on the master pattern, and simply draw through the template. That positions that dart underneath your shoulder blades. And then finishing off the bodice waist edge is just a slightly curved line that looks like that. Now I'd like you to draw off your bodice backs, please. So if you would stop your tapes and do this particular step. Now, drawing off your skirt back is so similar to drawing off your skirt front that I've already done a little bit of it for you. You're going to put in your center back and your straight grain marking, and whatever your waist, your high hip, and your full hip measurements are, you'll just simply dot them in exactly the same way. And of course, mark in your hem level and shift up or down however long you'd like your dresses to be. Now, the one thing that I did want to make notice of was the hip fitting dart on the back of the skirt. At the tip of that dart, there is a series of dots labeled full bust measurement, and you're likely wondering, I don't have a bust back there, and you're right, you don't. But because on the bodice back, we used the full bust measurement dot to mark in the placement for this dart, I will also use her full bust measurement number here as a referencing number only to draw in the position of that dart. And then they will line up one underneath the other. And we'll use this template, waist dart template, for the fourth and last time, and that says skirt back dart. So take the tip of the dart and aim it going down in the direction of the dart on your skirt, and put the tip of the dart over top of the dot, and then just line up the blue waist guideline on the template with the black waist guideline on the master pattern. And when you take that away, you've positioned your hip fitting dart, and then you just simply need to finish off the waist edge area. I'm connecting from center back to the side of the dart and from side back to the other side of the dart. I'd like you to stop your tapes now, please. Draw in your skirt back and finish off by adding the seam allowances. Before we start drawing off the sleeve pattern, I want to talk to you about your fabric choice. I know some of you are likely wondering, what kind of fabric do I use to sew this out of? Well, the good news is you can sew with either a knit or a woven fabric. Now, when you're sewing with a knit fabric or a stretchy fabric, knits do fall into one of three categories: limited, moderate, and very stretchy. Whenever you're working with either the limited or the moderate stretch knit, you can use your pattern exactly as it is. But when you're using the stretchy knit fabric, the very stretchy fabric, you will want to size down one series of size dots all the way around, because you need to take some of the ease out of the pattern because the knit is so stretchy. Now, no matter what kind of knit fabric you use, we have provided a sleeve for the stretchy or the knit fabric, and that's what you will use. This sleeve has reduced sleeve cap ease, and it does not have an elbow dart because knits conform to the bend in your body. Now, let's start drawing this sleeve pattern off. The measurement that we're going to use is your bust measurement, and you're likely wondering why the bust measurement. Well, it's because the armholes were sized by your bust measurement, and in order to get the correct cap height and circumference on here and width, we do need to utilize your bust measurement in that sleeve cap area one more time. So this is Enid's bust measurement that I am utilizing. Of course, you would use whatever your bust measurement dot is. Now we'll start connecting together. We need to get in that straight grain marking, and then we can connect our dots. Now just remember the rule. Find the curve, stylus out, and connect. Find the curve, slip the stylus up, and connect those dots. I generally do the bottom two dots together and the top four dots together, but if you want to go 2 by 2, that's fine as well. Your objective is to make a nice, smooth, flat sleeve cap. All right, then we need to mark in your elbow level and wrist level. So you measure down from your sleeve cap notch and mark in your elbow length, and we'll mark in your wrist length right there. And you can see that Enid has a relatively long arm in relationship to the pattern, but that's fine. It's real easy to work with this. We need to have the elbow dart marking pointing to where your elbow is. And so we're just simply going to release the tracing vellum and shift it up until the dart marking on the pattern lines up with your actual elbow area. So now it's pointed in the direction of your elbow. Now you use your full bust measurement and mark off the dots that are in the dart area of the elbow. Connect the top leg and the bottom leg of those dart dots together. You will also notice that there are a series of dots running down in an angle, and it does say for short sleeves only. When you're doing a long sleeve variation, you simply bypass that series of dots. Then you'll connect from the underarm to that top leg of the elbow dart. Now over on the right-hand side of the sleeve pattern, there is a series of matching dots for when you are doing the long sleeve, so I'll mark that dot off. Again, that was utilizing the full bust measurement, and you'll connect from the underarm down to that matching dot. Now we're going into the hem level, and again you can see that we need to shift the tracing vellum up just slightly. So I'm just moving it up until her hem level lines up with the hem guideline on the master pattern, and I'm keeping the straight grain marking on the straight grain marking of the master pattern. You will utilize your full bust measurement at the wrist level, and also please use the straight edge on your designing stylus to draw in this 1-inch fitted hem that is 2.5 centimeters wide. And then you'll connect from the bottom of the dart down to the hem level and finish it off on the other side. And the last step, of course, is putting in your seam allowances. So I'd like you to stop your video now, please, and draw off your personalized sleeve pattern. Now, if I've done my job correctly, and I certainly hope that I have, each and every one of you should realize that you too can blueprint your unique body shape and size in exactly the same procedure that I've done here. With a pattern like this, we can sew with the fabric of your choice, either it be a knit or a woven. We can sew any style of top. We can sew any style of skirt. We can sew the skirt together with the top to make a dress with a waistline seam. Or we can do what's called a shift or a chemise style dress. That's a dress without a waistline seam. And that's very easy to do with this system. You'll notice that up at the top of the skirt patterns, there is a marking, and I call it a sideways T. I'll just draw it off in green. It looks like the letter T that kind of flopped over on its side. And on the bodice waist edges, you will also find that same sideways T marking. So I just marked it off there too. Now what you need to do is shift the skirt beneath the bodice and line up those sideways T markings. And I'll just step away, and as I've done that, you'll realize that as the sideways T's are lined up, center front lines up, the darts line up one underneath the other just like they're supposed to, and you get the correct amount of overlap on the side seams. And of course, when you sew this together, you're going to be blending here at the hip line and the waist area. That'll give you a nice fit in your hip and waist area. And you're still going to get that same good fit because it was your 11 measurements that drew this pattern off. Now, I know some of you are sitting there and thinking, golly, that's great, but I don't know if I want to wear a basic dress for the rest of my life. Well, in defense of the basic dress, let me show you one of mine. So oftentimes when we hear the word basic, we think boring, and it doesn't really have to be. You can take that basic dress and make some very simple design changes. Let me show you what I've done to mine. Underneath the drape on the front, I have just the basic bodice with that same side-fitting bust dart. The slim skirt is still just that slim skirt pattern, as is the sleeve pattern with the elbow dart. But what I have done is instead of putting in the hip and waist-fitting darts, I've added a piece of elastic at the waistline, creating just a little bit of soft blousing. I've also added this very graceful and feminine drape on the front of the dress. And of course, the third thing is the fabric choice. Fabric choice really makes a difference in the end product of any of our garments. So be creative and enjoy your basic dress. But I know you won't want to be restricted to that style of dress forever. So with the tools that we have at hand, which are the ingenious designing stylus and the SureFit Designs master patterns and the SureFit Designs technique, let me show you how to open up the world of fashion and have fashion at your fingertips. I'd like to first of all start talking about necklines. The neckline that's featured on the master pattern is the jewel neckline. That's the neckline that I've got on this pink and white dress. I'd like to show you how to turn that into a V-neck. What you'll need to do is measure from the hollow in your neck down to where you want your V to be, and you'll mark that distance on your center front of the pattern, and then connect up into the neck point with a slightly curved line. The next neckline that I'll show you is a square neck. For this one, you'll measure in between your bra or camisole straps and divide the distance in half because you are working on half a pattern, and you will bring that half distance out from center front and take that line up into the shoulder point and shoulder area. Now, you never want to make your shoulder line any wider than about 2 inches, which is about 5 centimeters, because if you do, that whole shoulder will tend to fall off your shoulder. And the neck style is a U or a scoop-shaped neck. And I can also put this design on the front. And I think you'll recognize that as a basic sweetheart neckline. So I now have a sweetheart, a square, a scoop to V, and a jewel neckline for 5 different neckline choices. Center front right now is intended to be on the fold of the fabric. If you want to turn this into a dress with a seam up the front, well, you know that's real easy to do. Just draw through the slots that are provided on the designing stylus, and that will add on your seam allowance very, very quickly and easily. If you'd like to do a dress that's called a shirtwaist style dress, that's one that buttons all the way up the front, then just take your designing stylus and add on an extension that's approximately 3/4 of an inch, which is about 1.9 centimeters, and that's added on beyond center front. And then the nice thing about this is you get to put the buttons where you need them. You know that you should always have a button opposite your apex, and then the others equally distributed on either side. Because if you don't, you get a button above and a button below, and in the middle you get that disease called bust line gaposis, and that's one thing we all want to avoid. So we now have 3 different front options, one on a fold, one with a seam, and one with the button extension. Now I can turn this basic dress into a blouse, and that's very easily done by drawing a line approximately 8 inches, which is about 20 centimeters down below your waist level, and that's a generous blouse tuck-in length. And you know the reason to have your skirt beneath your bodice when you're doing a blouse? It's so that when you connect those side edges together, this blouse is going to do up over top of your hips. How many times have you worked with a pattern and when you've got it buttoned up, you get it buttoned to here and the rest of the time it V's open because it didn't have your hips designed into it? These are your hips. This will fit you. And jacket length we can also design. That's about 9 to 10 inches down, which is about 25 centimeters, and we'll have jacket level. Again, that jacket will hang very comfortably over top of your hips. And if I take the tracing vellum all the way down to the floor, I have evening length. I've already got day length on there. And if I do this particular curve on the front, I think you'll recognize that as being a vest. So I've now got 5 different length options. I've got a vest, a blouse, a jacket, day length, and evening length. The basic slim skirt can be turned into an A-line skirt very easily. What you'll want to do is bring the hem point out approximately 2 to 2.5 inches, which is about 5 to 7 centimeters, and then you'll just blend with a yardstick and get a nice straight line coming up into your hip area. So we now have an A-line and a side seam width for 2 side seam options. Now this bust dart. I know some of you don't like to wear bust darts, and I'll address that issue as we continue on. But I would like to say this. Whenever you're wearing a garment with this minimal amount of V's, you should have a bust-fitting dart, whether you're an A or a double D cut bra size, because it's going to just look that much better on you. But you are not restricted to having it just in this area. This is called the side-fitting dart. You can also have a lower side seam dart. You can have a dart going into your high hip area, and it's often curved, and that's called a French dart. You can also have a dart going into the armhole, and you can have a dart going into the shoulder line. You can have a dart going into your neckline, and a dart going into center front. So I've now got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different positions for that dart. let me show you how easy it is to move that dart around. Now this dart here is called the dressmaker's dart. That's the one you sew out for good fit on your body. I need to draw a designer's dart. And so I'll just show you how to do that. And I'll do it in green so that you can see the difference here. You begin at the beginning of your dart and you draw that line up to the tip of your apex. And then you start on the bottom leg of the dart and do the same thing up to the apex. So that long green dart is now called the designer's dart. Now I'm going to cut that out, but before I can cut it out, I want to reinforce the apex just slightly. So I'm putting a couple of pieces of tape over top of that. And let me tape this in place. Now I'm going to cut the designer's dart out. So I'm cutting on the green line and I'm cutting right up to the apex. Now I'll cut on the top of the green line and again I'll cut right up to the apex. Now what I have in here, the pink dart was the dressmaker's dart and the green dart is a designer's dart. So you just cut it out and throw it away. Then what we're going to do is move the dart around. Now you can cut open in any position that you want. I'm going to show you how to do a shoulder dart. So I'll cut down through the shoulder line. I'm going to cut up to the apex. Now don't go quite all the way through. Leave a little hair there so that you've got a pivotal point. And then, watch very carefully. I'm going to put my finger on the apex and I'm going to release the upper shoulder and I'm simply going to pivot that side dart shut. It's almost like magic, isn't it? I had the dart here and now it's up in the shoulder line. And the beauty of this is because I had a D cup dart here, I've got a D opening there. If you were an A cup, you'd get the A opening. If you were a B, you'd get a B. You always maintain that maximum good fit going around your body because you started off with the correct bra cup size for you. Now, that's not quite our finished dart because remember you don't want to stitch right up to the tip of your apex. So what we need to do now is called backing the pattern with tracing vellum. So I'm simply shifting a piece of tracing vellum down beneath the opening and I'll tape it shut, tape it in place, and now I can finish off the dart. Remember you want your dart tip to end back about 2 to 3 centimeters, which is about 1 to 1.5 inches. And then once you've got that dart tip, you can now join up to the opening edges. And those new blue lines are now my dart stitching lines. But you know, you're not restricted just to having a dart in that area. You know the dresses today that have the soft gathers coming from the shoulder? You know all the designer has done is simply cut out the designer's dart, opened up in the shoulder line, opened it up just as I've shown you, and gathered in that area. You didn't know gathering was so easy, did you? Well, when you're gathering, I would suggest that you do just a slightly curved line here because that's going to help that front shoulder seam line sew into the back shoulder seam line just a little bit more smoothly. So you can gather, you can dart, you can pleat or tuck that area, still maintaining that same good fit going all the way around your body. Now, in the industry, this basic dress is called a sloper. I've got another name for it. I like to call it a creative dress because you can see that we can mix and match all of these different designs. Do you know that's what the designers do? And so let's take a look at how many different design options we can really create with our creative dress. We have 7 different darts times 5 different lengths. That's 35. 35 times 2 side seam widths is 70. 70 times 3 front options is 210. And 210 times 5 different neckline choices is 1,050 different combinations. Now, I still haven't even included my sleeve options. We can have a long sleeve, we can have a short sleeve, and there is a series of dots here for sleeveless garments. So I can multiply that by 3 and come up with 3,150 different combinations of designs. Now, don't you think that's going to keep you busy sewing for a little while? And all from a pattern that fits. Because when your base pattern fits you as well as this one is going to, everything that you do is going to fit you equally as well. So let's take a look now at some of the multitude of different designs that you can do with your dress pattern. Kathleen is showing us this lovely shawl collar jacket. Both the shawl collar and jacket designing instructions are found in the dress instruction book. With the addition of a small amount of extra ease, the bodice pattern from the dress kit pattern can become a jacket. This is found on page 29. The shawl collar designing technique is located on page 40. The collar is embellished with one of the beautiful decorative stitches from my computer sewing machine. Isn't it attractive? Terry is showing us this smart daytime blouse. It has had the original side-fitting bust dart transferred up into the shoulder area. Dart transfer instructions are on page 18 and 19. You'll also notice the blouse features a traditional shoulder yoke. Those instructions are on page 20. Page 16 shows how to add a button extension for any front opening garment you may wish to have. A comfortable afternoon or cocktail dress is shown on Kathleen. The bust dart has been transferred down into the waist-fitting dart, which creates a substantial amount of gathering at the waistline. Notice the sleeve is featuring shirring or ruching down the center of the sleeve. The basic skirt has been changed to reflect an asymmetrical yoke and flared skirt. All directions can be found in the SureFit Designs fashion design sheet that complements the dress instruction book. Kathleen is now in our Princess Line suit. Page 42 of the dress book shows you complete directions for making this lovely Princess Line suit. It is very easy to add the peplum on the jacket or the godet insets at the hemline on the skirt. The fashion design sheet gives you all necessary details for peplums and godets. Terry looks stunning in this double-breasted dress. The dress is designed from the dress pattern and features a kimono sleeve. You'll find those instructions on page 14 of the dress book. The double-breasted detailing and design will be found on the blue insert inside the shirt kit. It's another exciting combination with your SureFit Design system. This timeless suit is a wardrobe basic. The skirt has had one dart designed into a pleat. Instructions for pleats are on page 24. The jacket features a lapel collar design. Jacket designing details are on page 29, and fashion leaflet number 4 gives you the lapel instructions. All fashion leaflets coordinate with and complement the whole designing system. This elegant dress features a blouson bodice, jewel neckline, and shoulder dart stitched as a release pleat. Attached to the waistline is a very full flared skirt. A flared asymmetrical flounce in contrasting fabric completes this very fashionable design. All instructions begin on page 30. Cindy and Kathleen are in their lovely evening dresses. Strapless dresses require less ease in the bodice since they do not have shoulders or straps to hold them up. Additionally, boning is often added in all vertical bodice seams to give the entire bodice stand-up support. Page 38 in the dress book gives all necessary details for your night on the town dress. I'd like to show you the dress that I've been wearing. If that had been the blueprint of my body, this is an example how I've turned that pattern into a very fashionable dress. The neckline, first of all, is just the jewel neckline, which is exactly the same neckline that's on the master pattern. Secondly, the side-fitting bust dart has been transferred up into the shoulder line, just as I did here, but I stitched it halfway down and stopped the stitching and then let it form the release pleat. And I've done a blouson bodice waist edge. For that, I dropped the side seam straight down into the high hip area, and that became the bodice. I added elastic at that area and then pulled it back up, and that created the blousing effect. For the skirt, I have done a gourd skirt. It is an 8 gourd skirt, meaning that there's 4 panels in the front and 4 in the back. And at the bottom of each of the panels, I have put on a tulip flip. And I did that with the hip curve on the designing stylus. That makes each of the panels much fuller, and of course when you release the skirt, then it drapes so beautifully at the bottom. So these are just some of the exciting fashions that you can fit and sew with your SureFit Designs patterns. Be creative with your creative dress.
SureFit Designs is by far the most outstanding, comprehensive, and economical pattern fitting and designing system available for today's home seamstresses. The key to the system, the designing stylus, is combined with the dress kit, the pant kit, the shirt kit, the children's kit, and men's pants instructions to provide you with a truly rewarding experience with your pattern fitting and sewing. Additional items that enhance the system are the 4-page fashion design sheet, the 8 individual fashion leaflets, and the indispensable tracing vellum. For ordering SureFit Designs products, refer to your rush order card, or for information, write to this address.
Welcome back. What's the most difficult item of clothing to fit on our bodies? Well, you'd all likely agree it's pants. Well, let's continue our journey now and let me show you how to make a pair of well-fitting SureFit Designs pants. You'll notice here I have the basic pant pattern displayed, and up the center of this grid there is a series of numbers. Now this I call a waist or a crotch grid, and these numbers actually represent your back crotch length measurement number. The smallest number is 12 inches, which is 30.5 centimeters. Every half inch is labeled, and it goes all the way on up to 20 inches or 50.8 centimeters. That's a very short to a very long back crotch. You will also notice that there's a series of dots on an angle, and they are your waist measurement dots. Your waist can be as small as 18 inches or 45.7 centimeters, all the way on up to 52 inches or 132.1 centimeters. And then beside every waist measurement number, there are lines coming up. And beside your crotch length measurement numbers, there are lines coming down. But notice that this line comes down at an angle and then bends even more dramatically. I'll show you how to use this grid. You'll take your crotch length measurement, whatever that number is, and let's use an example. Let's say your crotch length is 17 inches long, which is 43.2 centimeters. And your waist is 36 inches around, which is 91.4 centimeters. So we'll find that waist measurement number. There it is. We'll follow the waist measurement line going up, and then you'll follow your crotch length measurement line coming down the angle and slope of the grid. And where those two lines intersect, that will be the starting point for center back of your pants. So now let me show you how to take a set of accurate measurements so that you can start drawing off a pair of pants that fit you well. Enid again is our measurement model. Now when you're doing your pant measurements, we want to make them really accurate. So what I'd like you to do for your waist measurement is cut yourself a strip of fabric approximately 1 inch wide. And then you're going to take that and just simply tie it around your waist. And again, please make sure you're doing your measurements over top of your appropriate foundation garments. If you wear pantyhose or a girdle, make sure that you've got that on. So measurement number 1 is the waist measurement, and you'll record that, and again, it's comfortable around your body. Measurement number 2 is a full hip measurement. For this one, you'll want to measure yourself 2 or 3 times just to make sure you're getting your very fullest hip circumference. Again, please make sure that that tape measure is parallel to the floor. Measurement number 3 is a pant length measurement. So just stand and face me, please, and I'll have you raise your arm just slightly. And what we're going to do here is start the tape measure at the bottom of the waistband, not the middle nor the top, but rather right at the very bottom, because that's where the side seam will actually sew into the waistband. And then you measure all the way down to the hem level that you'd like to have, perhaps a pair of existing pants that you already know you like the length of. And just face the camera, please. And the last measurement is the crotch or straddle measurement. So now you need to separate your legs just a little bit, okay? And we're going to take the tape measure through her crotch. I'm going to start the tape measure at the bottom of the waistband in the front. Again, not the middle nor the top, but rather right at the very bottom edge, because that's where that crotch seam will meet with the waistband. And then I'm going to measure up to the bottom of the waistband in the back of her body. Now I'm just going to hold this in place. Could you do just a little sit me down and back up again? Good. Does that feel pretty comfortable? Great. Okay, that's the 4 measurements. Thank you very much, Enid. I'd like to talk about that straddle or crotch measurement just a little bit because it's a very important one. First of all, when you've got that tape measure through your crotch and you're measuring up from the bottom of your waistband in the front to the bottom of your waistband in the back, when she did her little sit me down, I did get a little bit of slippage in the tape measure. Sometimes it will slide a lot, and sometimes it will slide a little down your backside, and sometimes it won't even slide at all. What you're doing there is seeing if you're picking up any sitting ease in your pant measurement. So when you do that little crotch sit me down, you must stand back up and ask yourself the question, does that feel comfortable in my crotch line? If you have it pulling too tight, then you get the smile lines, and if you have it too loose, then you get the droopy crotch, and you don't want to have either situation happening. So just make sure that that tape measure truly is comfortable in your crotch line. Then what you need to do is make a front and a back straddle crotch measurement. Now I use the word straddle and crotch interchangeably, so don't let that confuse you. Now Enid's straddle measurement was 30 inches. And what we're going to do is make a front and a back measurement. And the way you do that is by dividing whatever your crotch length is in half, and in this case the half measurement is 15 inches. And to make a front measurement length, you take your half measurement number and subtract 1 inch to equal 14 inches. And for your back crotch length, you take your half measurement number, 15 inches, and add 1 inch to equal 16. So when I add together 14 and 16, what I come up with is still 30. And so I haven't gained or lost any fabric. What I've done is given her 2 inches more to the back of her body than the front of our bodies, because if you think about it, you have more in the back than you do in the front. But if you are one of those ladies who, when you put your pants on backwards, they fit you better on backwards than they do on frontwards, well, then what I want you to do is utilize this little device, which is simply a tape measure, which I cut in half so that I could put the 0 edges up together in the center, and then it counts evenly all the way on up. And what I've done is hung a plumb line down the center of that. And you know what we're going to do with this now? We're going to step into this, and you're going to let that plumb line hang right down the middle of your inseam. And then you're going to measure up to the bottom of your waist in the front and to the bottom of your waist in the back of your body. And because that plumb line is hanging right down your center, you're getting the accurate measurement in the front and in the back of your body. And you can see that if you had a little bit of tummy and you measured over top of it, you'd get that longer length. And if you had lots of backside, that's what you measured. If you hardly had any backside, that's what you would measure. So one way or the other, you are going to get accurate fit in that area, and this handy-dandy little device which will help you do that is called a crotchometer. It's kind of an adjunct to what the instruction book already tells you to do. So if you think that you've got an exceptionally long front or an exceptionally large back, please make yourself a crotchometer and just double-check your measurement. Now, for those of you who would prefer to work in the metric system, here's what this would look like in the metric system. Now, would you please go ahead and take your own personalized pant measurements? Now, the first thing that you'll want to do on your pant back is draw in your straight grain marking. So I'm just taking the straight edge on the designing stylus and drawing it exactly the same length as the grain line on the master pattern. Then if your vellum shifts off for whatever reason, you'll always be able to reposition it very quickly. Next, I'll be working up in the grid area. You want to utilize your back straddle measurement. In this case, it's 16 inches long, which is 40.6 centimeters. And you'll find that number up the center of the grid, and there it is right there. And her waist measurement along this series of dots is 30 inches, which is 76.2 centimeters. So I'm going to follow the waist measurement line up and the crotch length measurement line down the angle and slope of the grid. And where the two lines intersect, I am going to make a dot, and that's the starting point for the center back of her pants. Then we'll come over to the side back, again utilizing that same crotch length measurement, 16 inches down, and the waist measurement of 30 inches up, and where the two lines intersect, that will be the starting point for the side back. Now we need to connect those dots together. You can join those dots together in a straight or a curved line, and your instruction book will guide you in choosing the appropriate edge for your shape of waist. Then coming down the center of the dart, you'll notice that there's a series of letters, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, and I. Now those letters correspond to the length of your back crotch. So we'll take a look at that. 12 inches is letter A, 13 inches is letter B, 14 is letter C, 15 is letter D, and 16 has the letter E beside it. So that means that's her dart tip letter. We'll come down the center of the dart and find that letter, A, B, C, D, and E, and mark the tip of that dot in, and that will be the tip of her dart, and you'll simply join that up to the width of the parallel lines, which does represent the width of the dart on the back of the pattern. And then from here on in, it just simply couldn't be any easier. You take whatever your full hip measurement is, and you simply mark it in all the way around the outer edge of the leg of the pant. You will notice that as you come down the leg of the pant, there's a series of slope dots going down at an angle there, and they are for shorts. You simply bypass them when you're doing the long style. Now we'll go into the back crotch. There's a series of dots in the middle labeled back crotch point number 1 and a lower series labeled back crotch point number 2. Now you'll take your designing stylus and hold it with the words facing you and the two curves going upward. We'll come down the straight edge. There's only one arrowhead in here, and it does say match to back crotch point number 1. So you'll take arrowhead 1, put it into dot number 1, and pivot the stylus into your personalized waist point. Then connect down to dot number 1. Now there's dot number 2. That's a little bit lower than the edge of the stylus, so I will just pivot to meet that dot. So we'll pivot the stylus downward until it does match up with dot number 2, and then continue the curvature. And when I take that away, that will give her one of the best fitting back crotch curves that she's ever worn. Now we'll do the inseam. We'll find the curve on the master pattern, slip the stylus out, and you can generally connect your first 3 dots together in a very smooth curve. Then we'll come down. You find the curve, or the straight edge in this case, and slide the stylus out and connect your dots. The pant is basically a slim leg pant, and I'll be showing you how to make some variations on that as we progress today. Now the hip curve. You find the curve with the stylus, slip it out to connect your dots, and once again the instruction book will guide you in choosing the best curvature if you're a heart, a diamond, or a straight-shaped figure. Now the leg starts to turn inward, so we'll flop the stylus over. Again, find the curve on the master pattern and slip the stylus out, connecting those dots. And then it's just basically straight down. And the next step is putting in your hem level. Now you do recall that on Enid we measured from her waist over her hip down to her hemline. Well, I can't just measure straight down here because I would be bypassing that all-important hip curvature. So you do what's called walking the tape measure around the curve. That's where you actually take the tape measure and stand it on edge, and you walk it around the curvature, being real accurate in how you measure. And then when you come down into the straight edge, you can flatten it out, and then you mark in whatever your hem length is. And that's hers. And you can see that she's longer than the master pattern, so I just slip the tracing vellum up, and there is a 1.5 inch hem allowance that's allowed at the bottom. That's 3.8 centimeters wide. And of course you'll do that with the straight edge on your designing stylus. And the last step is to add in your seam allowances. So I'd like you to pause your tape now, please, and draw off your pants back. Now, to start drawing off the pants front, you'll want to first of all put in that straight grain marking and do it exactly the same length as the grain line marking on the master pattern. Now, I think you'll agree with me that when you're sewing a pair of pants, the outseam on the front needs to be exactly the same length as the outseam on the back. And the way that we make this system do that for you is to utilize the back straddle measurement one more time. I've already used it at center back, on side back, and I will use that same number again on the side front. The one and only time when you ever use your front crotch length measurement is in your front crotch curvature. So going to the side of the pant, we go up the center of the grid till you come to your number, and then you also go and find your waist measurement number. You find your waist measurement number and follow the line up, and your crotch length measurement and follow the line down. Where the two lines crisscross or intersect, you make a dot. Then going over to the front of the pant, we will use your front crotch length measurement for the first and only time. Going up the center of the grid, you find your number and follow that line coming down. Then you'll also find your waist measurement number and follow the line going up. Again, where the two lines crisscross or intersect, you make your dot, and that's the starting point for center front of your pants. Then take the straight edge on your stylus and draw in your waistline. Again, you'll have the option of choosing a curved waist edge, and your instruction book will guide you there. Whatever your dart tip letter was on the back of your pants, that will be exactly the same letter on the front of your pants. So we use the letter E. As I come down the center of the dart, I will find that letter, A, B, C, D, and there's the letter E. I'll simply mark that dot in and join that dot up to the width of the parallel lines, and that represents the width of the dart on the front of the pattern. Then from here on in, it just simply couldn't be any easier. You just mark in your full hip measurement dot all the way around the outer edge of the leg of the pant. And as we come up, we'll go into the front crotch area. There is a series of dots in the middle of the crotch that's labeled front crotch point number 1 and a lower series labeled front crotch point number 2. You'll now take your designing stylus and hold it with the words facing you and the two curves going downward. As we come down this straight edge, there's one arrowhead on there, and that says match to front crotch point number 1. So take arrowhead number 1 and put it into dot number 1. Then pivot the stylus into your personalized waist point and connect those dots. Now I can't quite see my dot number 2, so at dot number 1, simply pivot the stylus up, exposing dot number 2, and then continue the curvature. When I take that away, that will give her one of the best fitting front crotch curves that she's ever worn. Now do the inseam. Find the curve, slip the stylus out, and connect your dots. Again, you can do the top 3 dots together. Then the pant leg straightens out, so I'm just taking that straight line the rest of the way down the pant leg. Find the hip curve, slip your stylus out. Remember to best repeat the shape of your particular body. Then the pant leg turns inward, so flop the stylus over, find the curve, and slip the stylus out, and connect your dots together. Coming straight down, finishes off the straight leg of the pants front. And then the next step is the hem level. So you need to measure down, and remember the little rule. You're going to take your tape measure and walk it, which means stand the tape measure on edge, walking it around the outer curvature. Then come down into the straight section and mark your hem level. And then, because in this situation her hem level is lower than that of the master pattern, I'll simply shift the tracing vellum up, keeping that straight of grain straight, and mark in that 1.5 inch hem allowance, which is 3.8 centimeters wide. And then the last step is to put in your seam allowances. So at this point, I would like you to stop your tape and draw off your personalized pants front. These are the accessory pieces that sew your pants together. This is the waistband. It is 1 inch or 2.5 centimeters wide, and it does have seam allowances on it. So if you wanted a wider waistband, make sure you add that amount evenly to both sides of the waistband. You have a square choice or a pointed choice for the end of your waistband. Then this piece here is the fly front extension. That's the piece that you actually cut all in one with the front of your pants pattern, and it would look like this. And that would accept the fly or the zipper when you're sewing in the fly of your pants. So it's cut all in one with the body of the pants. And it does come in 7, 8, and 9 inch lengths. So if you're short or very tall, you have the correct length there for yourself. This is the zipper guard. You cut it out once, and you fold it in half and bond it together, and it becomes a protection between you and the zipper so you don't get chewed up in your zipper. This is the patch pocket. It comes in square, rounded, and angular, and in small, medium, and large. This is the inseam pocket, and that's the pocket that actually sets right in the seam allowance, and your hand goes in from the side, and you seldom ever see the opening. It's also an excellent pocket to adapt to your skirt pattern pieces. So you need to choose the pieces that you'd want to have for finishing off your pants pattern. Now let's take a look at some of the possible designs that we can do with our pants pattern. First of all, if you don't want to have a waistband at the top of your pants, you can do what is called a pull-on pant. And so here you'll see an extension added above the waist edge, and you know how wide to make that extension because you're going to do it 2 times the width of your elastic plus seam allowances. Then approximately 2 inches or 5 centimeters below the waist, you could cut your pants off for a hip hugger style of pant. Coming down even further, we have the women's bikini line. And here you'll notice that your crotch extension has been straightened out, and that's the kind of crotch curvature that you get when you purchase or make leotards or swimwear or your underwear. And you can also do that at home, of course. And coming down below the crotch point is the short shorts. That's a very high-cut short. And coming down further on the leg, you have the Bermuda shorts. And that's just a very comfortable walking level of short. Then you have the knee level. And that's very easy to establish. All you'll do is measure from the bottom of your waist down to the bend in your knee, and you'll take that distance and mark it on the pattern. And then you'll know how to design above or below it, depending on the style of pant you'd like to make. Coming down below your knee, you have the knicker level, and that can be either a really wide or a narrow leg, and you can finish it off with little gathers or pleats at the side. It's up to you. Coming down into the calf area of our leg, we have what is called the capri length pant. Many years ago, we called that a cropped leg pant. You know, the fashion cycle just kind of keeps turning around, and it just depends on the mood of the designer as to the name that it's going to get. Then, down at the bottom, you can also add on a cuff. When they're in fashion, it's very easy to add that. And here is the cuff extension formula. It is 2 times the desired cuff depth plus 1 inch. And an example of that would be 2 plus 2 plus 1. For a total of 5 inches, you would hem up 3 inches and turn back your remaining 2, and you'd be on your original hem level. And 2 inches is a fairly standard cuff depth width. Now, then you can change the actual width of the leg of the pant if you want to. The only rule to remember is that if you take anything off the inseam, you must take that equal amount off the outseam. So if you take off an inch here, you must take off an inch there. If you add 3 centimeters here, you must add 3 centimeters there. And then you do what is called truing. You connect the new point with an old point in the longest distance possible. And on the inseam, you always true up to the crotch point. And on the outseam, you always true up to the hip line. And the reason that you take fabric off the inseam and the outseam equally is so that you maintain that straight grain going straight up and down your leg, and you don't get a twisted leg on your pants. So you can see that we've got lots of different designs here. You can do the very narrow leg pant. That comes in very, very skinny to your ankle. And of course, the tighter you bring that, the more likely you're going to have to leave it open a little bit to get your foot inside. And then we have the bell bottom. That's a fashion we haven't seen in a while, but it might come back too. That's where the pant narrows into your knee and then flares back out. We also have the stovepipe pant, and that drops right off your buttocks and comes straight down. And we also have the hostess or palazzo pant. That's a very wide leg pant. And you know, there's always exceptions to every rule, and there is with our pant leg width rule as well. When you're doing a very wide leg pant, you never want your inseam to drop any wider than your crotch point, because if it does, then it's liable to, you know, wrap around your ankles and be very, very uncomfortable. So make sure it never drops any wider than the crotch point, but the outseam can keep on going and give you that real wide flared pant. So there's lots of different possibilities for designing with your pants pattern. I'd like you to stop your tape now and draw off your accessory pieces and start thinking about your design possibilities. I'd like to tell you about the pants I'm currently wearing. They're a standard pleated dress pant. What I've done is taken the one fitting dart and converted it into a pleat, and I've added one additional pleat. I've also got the fly front extension, the waistband and belt loops, and I finished them off with the wedge angle pocket. That particular design detail is found in the men's instructional package, and I will be talking about that as the video progresses. This fashionable style of pant is called a divided skirt or culotte. They really are designed from the pant pattern since they have that all-important crotch curve. The crotch point is extended and drops somewhat to allow for comfortable walking room. Instructions are found on fashion leaflet number 2. Kathleen is showing our newest Easy Wrap pant. Styles are loose and comfortable, yet reflect the fit you want. We call this the Easy Wrap pant. Instructions are on fashion leaflet number 8. A wedge of fabric has been added to the basic pant pattern from the waist down to nothing at the hem edge. The waistband then wraps closed to the dimension of your waist with a Velcro closure. As you expand or get smaller, the pant waist will too, without changing the pattern. These are truly fun pants to make and wear. Cindy is in these great harem pants. Page 16 in the pant instruction book shows how to design these fashionable harem pants. They are loose and comfortable since they have no binding seams. Your pants pattern gives you flexibility plus, as you really can create any style, whether it be formal or very, very casual. Kathleen features our stirrup pants. As the fashion cycle turns, we are seeing the revival of the stirrup pant. They are generally made from a stretch fabric and will feature the stirrup that goes underneath your heel to keep them tight and sleek looking. Pockets, pleats, and other design details can be added as you wish. These instructions are found on fashion leaflet number 8. Terry is back in basic pleated pants. These classic pleated pants are quick to design from your pants pattern. Pleat instructions are on page 10 of the pant book. You notice they also have the wedge angle pocket. This particular design detail can be found in the Men's Pants Designs package and easily adapted to your ladies' pants. These pants are truly a classic wardrobe basic. Be creative with your pants pattern. These yoked and pleated pants are made out of leather-like stretch knit fabric. They have pleats coming from the base of the yoke in both front and back of the pant. The leg is tapered down, and with small ankle pleats sewn into the ankle band, it completes the fashion look. These instructions are found on page 15 of the pant instruction book.
SureFit Designs is by far the most outstanding, comprehensive, and economical pattern fitting and designing system available for today's home seamstresses. The key to the system, the designing stylus, is combined with the dress kit, the pant kit, the shirt kit, the children's kit, and men's pants instructions to provide you with a truly rewarding experience with your pattern fitting and sewing. Additional items that enhance the system are the 4-page fashion design sheet, the 8 individual fashion leaflets, and the indispensable tracing vellum. For ordering SureFit Designs products, refer to your rush order card, or for information, write to this address.
Let's continue our journey now into pattern fitting and designing with the SureFit Designs shirt kit. These are all the pattern pieces that you will find in your shirt kit, and you will also notice that there's a series of dots going up and out in various locations, and once again they are the grading dots that will make this fit your unique body shape and size. The smallest dot is 28 inches or 71.1 centimeters, and it goes all the way on up to 56 inches or 142.2 centimeters. So what I need to do now is show you how to take your measurements accurately for a shirt pattern. So Enid, would you please come on and we'll show everyone how to do that. The very first measurement is a bust or chest measurement, and so put your arms straight out again, please. And we'll take the tape measure over the back shoulder blades, and once again go over the fullest part of the bust. Now, Enid, lower your arms down, please. Again, when the arms were lowered down, we got some expansion happening in the front of that tape measure, and that is the measurement you will want to record. Now, when you're doing this for a man, realize that he's likely got a little bit better shoulder development back there, and you might get quite a substantial amount of expansion, and that's fine. That's the larger measurement, and you will use that. Measurement number 2 is a waist measurement, and I've talked quite a bit today about how to establish your waistline. Now, when you're measuring for a man's waist, some of our men have what we call Dunlap's disease. That's when their belly Dunlap over their belt. And if that happens to be your situation, please make sure you measure him around his fullest middle part, so his shirts will do up there as well. And if your man is basically just straight, just wrap that tape measure around him and call that his waist. All right, measurement number 3 is a shoulder width measurement, so I need to have you face now with your back to the camera, please. And we'll put the arms straight out again. And what you want to do is find those hollows that are your shoulder bones and then measure from shoulder bone to establish the full back shoulder width measurement. All right, that's fine, Enid. Thank you, and you can lower your arms down. And the next measurement is the center back waist length. That's done from the cervical bone at the base of the neck all the way down to the waist at the back. Now, just stand halfway around, please. and bend your arm comfortably towards the front of your body. The fifth and last measurement is to measure the arm length. So you'll start the tape measure at the shoulder bone. You'll go over the elbow. You don't need to stop here because there isn't an elbow dart in this particular shirt sleeve pattern. And then you go right down to the hand side of the base of the wrist bone. So that's the 5 measurements that you need to take, whether you're measuring a man or a woman for a shirt. Thank you very much, Enid. Now, would you please stop the tape and take your own personalized measurements? Now, just before we start utilizing your personalized measurements, I want to talk about personalizing the neck size for you. Perhaps you or your husband has a thick neck and you're concerned about a collar or collar stand buttoning up properly. Well, I'd like to refer you to page 4 in the shirt instruction book. In the center section, there is a whole section here on personalizing the neck size. And the very first thing that it tells you to do is take your neck measurement. And so basically what you'll want to do is just take your tape measure and put it around the base of your neck where your collar stand would be. Now, this is the one and only time when I'm going to allow you to put a finger in between you and your tape measure. Normally, you should not be doing that, but this is just going to give you some comfort room and breathing and swallowing room. So you take that measurement, whatever it might be, and then you apply it to the chart on the bottom of page 3 in the shirt instruction book. Now, let's assume that your chest measurement is 36 inches around. Well, as we read down the chart, you'll notice that the accompanying neck measurement is 15 inches. But let's say you just measured yourself and you know that your neck is 15.5 inches. So as we read across on the chart to the 15.5 inch column, and I read up, we'll see that the accompanying chest size is 38 inches. So how you'd use these numbers is this. On the neck pattern, you would use, or the neck area of your pattern, you would use your 38 dots. And when you come down into the shoulder and armhole area, you'd go back to your 36-inch dots because that's what's going to fit you in the chest area. So for those of you who would like to work in the metric system, that chart is provided at the bottom of that particular page, so you can work in whichever system you want. This is going to give you the neck size that fits and the chest size that fits you properly. When you draw off your shirt pattern, you will begin on the shirt back. And the measurement number that we're going to use is the chest or full bust measurement, in this case 42 inches or 106.7 centimeters. Starting at center back, go from the smallest dot up to whatever your chest or bust measurement dot is, and mark that in all the way around in the neck area, the shoulder, the middle of the armhole, and the underarm. And then you simply start connecting these dots together. Use the straight edge on your stylus and draw down center back. And also make sure that you put in your straight grain marking. Now you need to do the neck curvature on the back of the pattern. Now I'd like you to hold your styluses with the words facing you and the 2 curves going downward. As we come down the straight edge, in the seam allowance area, you'll see a notation that says front crotch curve. We're actually going to use that curvature on the neckline of the pattern. You'll see as I hold it in place that it repeats it pretty well, and we're going to slip the stylus up and then connect those dots together. And all day long you've been wondering what BNC stood for on my stylus. Now you know it stands for back neck curve, and it is the curvature you'll use for either a man's or a woman's shirt pattern. Then you will connect together the neck to the shoulder point. And looking in the armhole, there's a series of dots labeled back arm side point 1 and a lower series labeled back arm side point number 2. Now you'll hold the stylus with the words facing you and the 2 curves coming downward. We'll come down the long curvy edge to the second arrowhead, and that says match to back arm side point number 1 shirt kit. So I'll take that arrowhead and put it into dot 1 and pivot into the shoulder point, and I'm going to come about 1/4 of the way down, and then I'd like to stop. I'd like to mention to you that this pattern has seam allowance already built onto it for you. It's just a little bit different from the other patterns insofar as you'll draw one line all the way around the outer edge and you'll be done and ready to cut and sew. But because it has a seam allowance built into it, we do need to verify that the back shoulder width is correct for you. So in order to do that, I'm simply going to use the stylus and mark off the stitching line where your seam lines would be when all of the seams are sewn. And I'm going to measure now. Enid's back shoulder width was 17 3/4 inches long from shoulder bone to shoulder bone. That's 45 centimeters. But because I'm working on half a pattern, I need to divide that distance in half and bring that half width out from center back. And I will notice here that the pattern is approximately 1/4 inch too long for her. So on the seam line, I'm just going to measure back, on the cutting line, I'll measure back about 1/4 inch, and I'm going to reconnect now to that narrower dot. Taking the designing stylus, line up arrowhead 1 to dot 1, pivot into the narrower shoulder point, and then come on down to dot number 1. Now, there's dot number 2. This is one time when you don't want to pivot your stylus, because if you then continued to draw, you'd form a little bit of a scalloped underarm. So just remember the rule. Find the curve on the master pattern, slip the stylus up, and connect your dots together. When I take that away, that will give her that low flat underarm curvature that is unique to the shirt pattern. And what do you do with that little bit that's hanging off? Well, at home you're going to be drawing this off in pencil, and it's such a durable tracing medium that all you're going to do is erase that and you won't have any holes. And of course, if you're a broader shouldered person, again, you would just simply erase what you do not require. All right, the next thing to do is mark in your waist level. And so just take your tape measure, and remember that we do have a seam allowance up at the top, so I'll just mark that off and then measure down and mark in her waist length, which is 18 inches or 46 centimeters. Now her waist level is a little bit above the waistline on the master pattern, so at this point I'm going to release the tracing vellum, and I'm simply going to shift down until her waist level does line up with that of the master pattern, and of course keep the straight of grain and the center back markings exactly on the straight lines from the master pattern. And now you can choose your appropriate waist width dot. Your waist can be as small as 24 inches or 61 centimeters, and it can go all the way on up to 52 inches or 132.1 centimeters. So you mark off the dot that represents you. And then all you do is connect that waist dot to your center back, and of course the next thing is the side seam. Well, you find the curve and connect your dots. In this case, I need to change the curvature just slightly to accommodate for her narrower waist width. So I'm coming down to the waist dot. And we have some hem level choices here to choose from. When you're doing a man's shirt, you will choose his waist measurement dot at the bottom edge here. Because a man is basically straight from his waist down, you can just choose that waist dot and drop the side seam straight down. But for a woman, because we have a few more curves in that area, you'll want to take your hip measurement and add about 1 inch or 2.5 centimeters for ease, and then divide that total measurement in quarters since you're working on 1/4 of the pattern, and then you'll measure that out, mark it at your hem level, and then continue connecting with your designing stylus to form your actual hem edge. And now you have a couple of options here. You can do a straight hem if you wish, or you can do a slightly curved hem like this. It's that standard shirt tail tuck-in hem. Or if you want to wear your shirt out over top of your slacks or pants, you can do that outward curvature. Just because the curve isn't on the pattern doesn't mean that you can't draw in whatever you want to have. And there is one last step, and that's an optional back-fitting dart. At the top and the bottom of the dart, there are a series of dots, and they are labeled as chest or bust measurement. So you mark off the dot, once again, that represents your chest or bust measurement. And when you don't have a template, it's very easy to draw this dart. All you do is shift the tracing vellum over top of the dart and use the straight edge on your designing stylus, and that will draw in the optional back-fitting dart. So that does finish off the shirt back. I'd like you to stop your tapes and please draw off your shirt back pattern. The shirt front is really easy to draw off. I'm not going to draw it here because the system is so similar to what I've already shown you, but I will explain it for you. Whatever chest or bust measurements you used in the shirt back, you'll use the same thing in the neckline, in the shoulder, in the middle of the armhole and at the underarm. If you raised or lowered the waist on the back any, you raise or lower the waistline on the front exactly the same amount. You still have your same hem level choices here. And of course the pocket placement level is given for you. And the center front, the button extension, and the facing markings are already in place on the pattern. So when you draw off your shirt front and you incorporate these, you're ready to cut and sew your first shirt with a standard turn back facing. Now, if you want to do a shirt that pulls over your head, you simply disregard the facing and the button extension line, and the center front becomes the place on the fold. So you can do whatever kind of a style that you'd like to have. So I'd like you to stop now, please, and draw off your shirt front. Let's draw off the shirt sleeve pattern. Now, the same technique that applied to the dress pattern this morning is the same as for the shirt. You use your bust or chest measurement around on your sleeve pattern. But unlike the dress sleeve, this shirt sleeve pattern does not have an elbow fitting dart. So you can start your dots down at the hem level and then take your dots all the way around the cap of the sleeve and back down the other side. And of course we don't want to forget to put in that straight of grain marking. So we'll make that in place right now. Okay, now we'll start drawing off the dots. You find the curve, slip the stylus out, and connect your dots together. And here is a situation where I usually just do 2 dots together at a time. It will look like this. Then flip the stylus over to do the other side. What you're attempting to achieve here is a nice smooth sleeve cap, and you'll see how it's turning out to look different from the dress sleeve. It's much wider and shallower. To do the side seam, you find the curve and slip the stylus out and connect your dots, and then come straight down. And we'll do the other side seam in the same fashion. You can connect the top 3 dots together and the last 2. Now we have the hem level to mark in. This sleeve is designed to have a cuff in place. And because we've done all of our arm length measurements right down to the hand side of the base of the wrist bone on our arms, we can't just add a cuff to that length, because if we did, then the whole thing would end up being too long on our arms. So what we need to do is subtract a little bit of length from your actual arm length and mark that on the pattern. So what the technique is where your sleeve cap notch is, you're going to measure down your arm length minus 3/4 of an inch, which is 1.9 centimeters, and you'll mark in your actual arm length minus your 3/4 of an inch, or 1.9 centimeters. In the case of Enid, her arm is longer than the hem level on the master pattern. So now I need to release the tracing vellum and shift it up slightly until her hem level does line up with the hem guideline on the master pattern, and then I can just finish off the hem at the bottom. There is a placket and slash opening, and there are pleat lines, and you can sew these into formal pleats if you want to, or you can use that space and gather it to make the look a little bit more feminine. And now these are the accessory pieces that will complete your shirt pattern. This is the cuff pattern piece. It's 2.5 inches wide, which is 6.4 centimeters. This is the collar stand. That's the stand that the collar actually stands onto in a more formal shirt. But if you take a look at the design of it, it is really an excellent mandarin collar. So you can actually transfer these collar pattern pieces onto your dress pattern. The one thing that I will mention to you, whenever you're transferring collars from either your shirt kit or your children's kit onto your dress kit, please make sure that the stitching line of the collar piece is exactly the same length as the stitching line of the neckline on your dress pattern. And you remember the way to do that, because it's a curved edge, you're going to stand your tape measure on edge. This is the short pointed collar, this is the long pointed collar, and there are 4 different styles of pockets and flaps. So you've got lots of mixing and matching to do with all of the accessory pieces. So please stop your tape now and draw off your shirt sleeve and your accessory pieces. This complimentary jacket that Terry is wearing is designed from the shirt basic pattern. You can recognize this by the fact that it does not have a bust fitting dart, and it features a deeper armhole and more bust ease. Even though the basic jacket is from the shirt kit bodice, the design feature of the shawl collar has been directly adapted from the dress instruction book, page 40. Kathleen is in this lovely afternoon dress that is designed by using the shirt kit bodice and the skirt pattern from the dress kit. This will ensure your correct hip fit and hem length when designing the shirt into a dress. The beautiful and feminine draped front instructions are found on fashion leaflet number 3. Cindy is wearing the tube neckline sweatshirt. Fashion leaflet number 5 shows exactly how to design your shirt kit into this oversized sweatshirt top. It features a drop shoulder and a tube neckline, which is rolled and stuffed with polyester polyfill. Applique work and piping finish off this comfortable shirt-style sweatshirt. Terry is wearing a great multicolored shirt. Women's shirt designing is located on page 12 of the shirt instruction book. Tucked in or worn on top of your pants, this go-anywhere style is particularly fun to sew when mixing and matching fabric colors and patterns. The flat collar is a pattern piece taken directly from the children's kit pattern pieces. The shirt kit pattern can easily make sporty and casual wear for your men and boys. This tracksuit top features color blocking with rainproof fabric. The design is a dolman-shaped sleeve on the shirt pattern. The collar pattern piece is from the children's kit pattern pieces. The shirt pattern can easily adapt into any asymmetrical style. You'll find asymmetrical designing instructions on the blue insert in your shirt kit. This shirt style blouse again is dartless and features a contrasting center front inset and a peplum at the waist and hip area. Kathleen's smart jumpsuit is designed by using the shirt, the pants, the children's, and the men's pants instruction book. The top is from the shirt kit bodice. The bottom half is obviously from your well-fitting pant pattern. The wedge angle pocket detailing comes from the men's pants instruction book, and details for designing a jumpsuit are found on page 16 of the children's instruction book. The entire SureFit design system is truly versatile, not only for dressing your whole family, but also in allowing you to interchange the kits to create any design you wish. Your men are not forgotten. From the basic shirt pattern, dress shirts or sport shirts can be made. Just follow the basic measuring techniques already shown and follow the steps for drawing off the pattern. It's as simple as that to get him one of the best fitting shirts he's ever worn. Kathleen has on a great all-purpose trench coat. Designed from the shirt pattern, it is really a long version of the safari jacket design on page 16. It features the traditional shoulder yoke and patch pockets. Instructions on page 11 show you how to do the center back pleat. The belt completes this trim-fitting coat. Cindy looks stunning in this green and black two-piece outfit designed from the shirt kit and dress kit patterns. The dartless top is off the shirt pattern. However, the boat neck and V-neck design instructions are on page 13 in the dress book. Adding a button extension is easy when you follow page 16 instructions from the dress book. It's a great combination of the two kits. I'd like to show you the outfit that I'm currently wearing. The bottom half looks like a skirt, but it's really from my pants pattern. It's called a divided skirt or culotte. It does feature very soft pleats at the waistline and a wedge angle pocket. Now the top that I'm wearing is off of the shirt pattern. It does have the dolman sleeve, and instructions for dolman sleeves are found on leaflet number 2. And I've also done an asymmetrical opening with the turn-back collar, and those instructions are found on the blue insert that's inside your shirt kit. Versatility Plus really comes through when you're working and designing with your SureFit Designs kits. Begin imagining your wardrobe possibilities.
SureFit Designs is by far the most outstanding, comprehensive, and economical pattern fitting and designing system available for today's home seamstresses. The key to the system, the designing stylus, is combined with the dress kit, the pant kit, the shirt kit, the children's kit, and men's pants instructions to provide you with a truly rewarding experience with your pattern fitting and sewing. Additional items that enhance the system are the 4-page fashion design sheet, the 8 individual fashion leaflets, and the indispensable tracing vellum. For ordering SureFit Designs products, refer to your rush order card, or for information, write to this address.
Our journey takes us into the children's kit, which is really a valuable addition to the Sure-Fit Designs pattern line. It is one of the most versatile kits you'll ever own. It not only sews all styles of clothing for your toddlers, children, and teens, but also has accessory pieces and instructions that coordinate with all the adult patterns. The patterns include pants, shirts, blouses, and skirts, and you can mix and match them in any way you desire. There is also an array of additional pattern pieces like collars, hoods, pockets, and bib designs that are totally interchangeable with the adult patterns. So whether you have children or not, this kit completes the flexibility of the whole Sure-Fit Design system. The kit sews for both boys and girls. When you want your child to look really special, you can make party clothes, dress pants, dress shirts, vests, jackets, and dresses. Our party dress, featured in the 4-page insert in the kit, looks especially pretty and feminine on Annie. Greg looks ready for Sunday brunch or any other special dress-up occasion. Robes for both boys and girls, wrap skirts, jumpsuits, bibbed overalls, and sport tab t-shirts are just some of the many designs you'll find in the children's instruction book. And when it's playtime, Annie is completely at ease in this jumpsuit. Instructions are featured on page 16 of the children's book. Greg's tab front t-shirt is great for comfortable wear and playtime. Tab front instructions are found on the 4-page children's kit insert. But you are not restricted to sewing only children's clothes. The flexibility of the children's kit allows you to use the accompanying patterns and instructions to sew for yourself. The flat lapel collar on this blouse is a children's kit pattern piece. The sailor collar instructions are on page 22 of the children's book. The jumpsuit instructions on page 16 can be adapted to adult size as well. The hood pattern piece shown on this lady's jacket and the flat collar pattern used on this tracksuit top are also ones located in the children's kit. These, plus many other interchanges, make the children's kit a valuable addition and truly provides total flexibility with the entire Sure-Fit Design system. The patterns are drawn off much like that which has already been demonstrated in the shirt, pant, and skirt presentations. So developing these personalized patterns will be a breeze as well. Well, we've now dressed everybody in the family with the exception of your men from the waist downward. Yes, I'm talking about well-fitting pants for him too. The men cannot wear the ladies' pants, nor can you wear his. This is because the curvatures for him are completely different. But we can utilize the ladies' pant kit front and back pattern pieces and adapt the necessary curves to fit the man. We do that by utilizing the instructions in the Men's Pants Designs package. These instructions show you how to do this adaptation. These two elements, the ladies' pant pattern and the men's instructions, go hand in hand to get him some of the best fitting pants he's ever worn. Once his pattern is completed, you can sew any style of dress pants or casual pants. You can also sew sportwear, shorts, rugby pants, jogging pants, track pants, and even designer jeans. And ladies, you can get your instructions for your wedge angle pockets and belt loop application from the Men's Pants Designs package. You see, we really can dress the entire family in the best fitting clothes they've ever had.
Sure-Fit Designs is by far the most outstanding, comprehensive, and economical pattern fitting and designing system available for today's home seamstresses. The key to the system, the designing stylus, is combined with the dress kit, the pant kit, the shirt kit, the children's kit, and men's pants instructions to provide you with a truly rewarding experience with your pattern fitting and sewing. Additional items that enhance the system are the 4-page fashion design sheet, the 8 individual fashion leaflets, and the indispensable tracing vellum. For ordering Sure-Fit Designs products, refer to your rush order card, or for information, write to this address.
Our journey is not complete until I've shown you how to fit all of your old commercial patterns. If you're like most home sewers, you have a stockpile of old commercial patterns. Well, what I'd like to do is show you how to turn that stockpile into a virtual gold mine by using the innovative SureFit design system. Inside the dress kit, there are instructions on the pink leaflet telling you how to fit your commercial patterns. You basically will use whichever piece you're working on in the subsequent pattern. For instance, I'm showing you here the skirt back. If you were testing a bodice front or a sleeve, you'd use those respective pieces. Now this is my skirt back with my correct waist, hip width, and hem length. What you want to do is take your old skirt pattern now and lay that on top. Now that you have your commercial pattern laid over top of your blueprint, what you want to do is line up the specific and key areas. In this situation, you'd line up center back marking to the center back of the SureFit pattern, and you'd make sure that the waist points are exactly on their waist points. And as we look down center back, we'll notice that the commercial pattern has the seam allowance in place. We will also notice that the commercial pattern has a bias grain line marking, whereas the SureFit Designs pattern does not. As I come down into the hem level, this is where I like to wear my normal day-length dresses, and the commercial pattern is substantially longer. So oftentimes when we are working with commercial patterns, we're afraid to cut them off in the patterning stage for fear that they're not going to be correct when you've got them sewn. But you know, when you know your hem length, why waste your fabric dollars cutting out extra fabric that you're just going to turn up and cut away anyway? So that's one thing that I will be changing as we move on. There is the width of the SureFit pattern. There's the width of the commercial pattern, and I will be adapting that. And as I come up past my as I come up past my hip level, you'll notice my hip hasn't changed a lot in the last few years, but my waist certainly has gotten an awful lot wider. So I will definitely be incorporating that into the final version. So now what you want to do is lay a piece of tracing vellum over top, creating a third layer, and we will make a composite pattern and truly blend the best of both worlds. All right, we've now got the tracing vellum up over top. It becomes our third layer. And now we're going to draw on our composite pattern, and you're going to pretend that I haven't drawn this on yet, and we'll draw it off together. First of all, you're going to draw straight down center back, and that's actually going to be your stitching line, because then you will add the necessary seam allowance, because the center back will have a center back seam. You'll also put on the matching notches and the sew-to dots to help you get the skirt constructed. You will also notice that I've put on the straight grain marking from the SureFit pattern and the bias grain marking from the commercial pattern. So now it allows me the option to lay it on the bias or on the straight grain when I'm in the fabric layout stage. And as I come down to the hemline, you'll notice that I have cut it off at the length of my current day dresses. There just isn't any point in cutting it so long and wasting all that fabric in your finished garment. So you buy what fabric you require and you cut it off where you know your hems are going to end. Then I am going to bring it out to the width of the commercial pattern, because that is the style that I do want to have, and then I will blend up past my current hip width and out to my currently wider waist width. So now it's going to fit me in all the very necessary areas. And this little bit of gathering right here is actually sewn from the dart space that's provided in the SureFit Design skirt. Well, I don't know about you ladies, but in years past, I used to spend hour after tedious hours struggling to get those darn commercial patterns to fit me. Doesn't this just make a whole heck of a lot more sense? I know that when you try it, you're truly going to see how easy this is and how well all of your clothing are going to fit afterward. So whether you want to be your own original designer with the SureFit Designs kits, or whether you'd like to use your stockpile of commercial patterns and turn them into a gold mine, the option is yours. I know you're going to love fitting and designing, working with the SureFit Design system. We've come to the end of our journey to the fascinating new world of pattern fitting and designing with SureFit Designs. I hope you've enjoyed the many new ideas and possibilities that we have shared in this videotape. Today, the importance of having well-fitting, fashionable clothes is only as important as the money we can save our families by sewing. I hope I have been that inspiration to encourage you to design and sew for yourself and your entire family. I know that once you start using the ideas expressed in this video, that you will save money for your family and have well-fitting, fashionable clothes and have fun doing it. Thank you and happy sewing.